Good evening. We're broadcasting in black and white today because I was inspired by an Alfred Hitchcock hour episode I watched last night entitled Last Seen Wearing Blue Jeans. A great episode starring the beautiful Katherine Crawford, who I think once went to Australia.
They told me it would be hot and dusty in Australia. Now I know what they meant. I'm Katherine Crawford, by the way.
It was based on a book by Amber Dean entitled Encounter with Evil that I'll talk about in a second. But first, this great old episode which aired back in 1963 when the world was new. A British couple, David and Roberta Saunders, and their teenage daughter Lauren are traveling through Arizona from New York to California. They're British tourists visiting America, and they stop at midnight at a cafe in a fictional town called Slawson. Some people on Reddit try to find out where Slawson may have been located if it was real. I love Reddit. But anyway, I digress. Lauren is super sleepy. She manages to follow them inside, but then asks to go back to the car and promptly falls asleep in the back seat. But it's the wrong car, and two men from the cafe get into their car, another station wagon, and drive away. Roberta and David don't notice that their daughter isn't in the back seat and drive away also. They notice a little bit down the road, the wife screams, and I like how the dad is calm, cool, and collected, like the way a man should be in a crisis. And he suggests that they go back to Cate's cafe where they had stopped for tea. Meanwhile, Lauren, the 17-year-old daughter, wakes up in a car garage somewhere where two men are joined by a third. There's a struggle, a fight, and one of the men are murdered right in front of Lauren's eyes. She's terrified and she runs away. They notice her leaving. One of them remembers her from the cafe when they were there, so they chase after her. But there's a problem. When Lauren goes out on the street, she finds out she's across the border in Mexico, in a small town called Cochero, I think. And she's greeted by very unfriendly faces and a foreign language. Now this is great. She's a fish out of water, nowhere to go. What will she do? The stakes are so high. The parents go to the sheriff in Slawson, but he just gives them the runaround. It turns out that Cate of the cafe is in charge of a car theft ring. And now that she's seen the murder, he wants her eliminated, or at least captured. A few run-ins in Mexico, she escapes the bad guys a few times, then walking down the side of the road, she meets a boy driving a Jeep, an American, Pete Tanner. He offers her to give her a lift back to the States, across the border. There's some friendliness. He teases her about her accent. That's why you sound so out, because you're from Britain. Some playfulness. They talk about crackers being called biscuits and so forth. They drive to the border. The parents had already been to the border to Mexico, and even to Mexico itself, and they left Lauren's photo with the border customs official. When he stops them, Lauren can't quite pull off an American accent, pretending to be Pete's sister, and says they're on their way back to the ranch instead of ranch. This raises the eyebrows of the custom official. He goes to get the photo of Lauren, but then Pete gets a bit spooked and drives straight off across the border back into the States. See? Even back then it was easy to cross the border illegally. They go to the sheriff, but of course the sheriff's in the pocket of Cate, the man who's in charge of the car theft ring. They go back to the cafe at gunpoint. Pete and Lauren are in real trouble in the back room. But then the parents are told by the border patrolman that it was Pete Tanner who drove her across the border. He knew him. So they go to Pete's dad's ranch, and then the three of them go to the cafe, rescue Pete and Lauren, and then they have a happy reunion at the ranch where they're saying goodbye. Lauren offers Pete to come and visit her in London next summer. He thinks that will be great. He tells her, don't be getting lost again. She says nope, the word that he taught her instead of saying no. He even gets a kiss for his troubles. The end. Now, wasn't that a great episode? Edge of your seat stuff, but with like a friendly, romantic teenage love story. I loved it. And as I mentioned earlier, although the screenplay was written by someone called Lou Rambo, the original story was by Amber Dean in this book, not called Last Seen Wearing Blue Jeans, which I think is a better title. It was called Encounter with Evil from 1961, just a few years before the episode aired. Now there's some differences here. A lot of the names are the same, but the location is changed. They're no longer near the Mexico border in Arizona. Dave, Roberta, and Lauren Landis are Americans traveling through Canada in a small town on their way to New York to start their new house and new life just on the American side of Niagara Falls. But they stop in a little town called Lenox at Cate's Cafe again. And again, Lauren, their teenage daughter, is tired. She gets in the wrong car, drives away with the wrong men. It's a while before the parents notice in their car. They turn back, but when they get back to Cate's Cafe, they're given the Lady Vanishes treatment, where they pretend they'd never seen them before or their daughter, and they must be confused with a different cafe because the man, Vince, not Vince Cat this time, but Vince, he's a family member of the Cats. Now this book is all about like cousins and small town secrets, and they're all trying to cover up another car stealing ring. And there's no murder this time that Lauren witnesses in the garage. She just sees the process of stealing cars across the border. So she knows too much? Is that really enough reason to try to kill her? On page 31, while being captured in the garage, Barney, one of the bad guys, was not really frightening. She jumped at the little man, now appeared at the window, and reaching through the opening, offered her a bottle of Coke. Well, it's the only product placement I can find in the whole book. So why not? Would have been just like this. Cheers. Another difference from the book to the TV show is the blue jeans. She's not wearing any blue jeans. She instead is carrying a blanket and a book of Bartlett's quotations, her most prized possession that she does not let go of until she has to, near the end. On page 115, though, she's wearing something called dark blue Bermudas, which I assume are shorts. There's also a Pete Tanner, the boy that rescued her in the Jeep in the TV show, but here he's waiting for his school bus on the side of a country road when she crawls up the hill and asks for assistance. They try to get her on the school bus to go to school, pretending that she's her cousin visiting, but the bus driver doesn't let her on, saying it's against regulations. So Pete decides not to get on the bus also. They hide in a ditch when they see the car coming with the bad guys from the garage, and they follow the school bus. So Pete says that school bus driver did you a favor by not letting you on. They go to Pete's house, but unfortunately they're both kidnapped. The parents are on the trail of the secrets that Cate's Cafe has to offer, especially the back room where those 10 strangers with their driver border slips for their different vehicles. Another car stealing ring is in full effect. This is Vince, the bad guy. He's not called Vince Cat in this. He's just a married family member of the Cats. There's Rose, a waitress. Her arthritic husband take a trip, and that plays into the final plot too. I like the book a lot. It's not the episode though, unfortunately, but it was good. I think it would have been a good Hitchcock film, especially if they had got Katherine Crawford again. And I think Randy Boone was a good actor in the TV show. Of course, Randy Boone went on to do a lot of acting, but I think what I like him most in is the great Twilight Zone episode from the same year called The Seventh is Made Up of Phantoms, where he's part of an army troop who go back in time to Custer's last stand. So that's it. I really love the Alfred Hitchcock hour. Do you have a favorite episode? I like this one, Last Seen Wearing Blue Jeans, and also Nothing Much Happens in Linval with Fess Parker. Watching these old black and white episodes is like smelling the pages of an old book. Like that musty, almost vinegar scent. Makes you long for a simpler time. I first saw Last Wearing Blue Jeans when I was a teenager. And the promise of adventure and meeting a girl, it's so great for a young one. I think kids should put down their iPods and voodoo TikToks and watch the Alfred Hitchcock hour, the Twilight Zone. Morals, that's what we need today. Don't you agree? And hello, Katherine Crawford, if you're watching. I hope you enjoyed Australia despite the heat.
They told me it would be hot and dusty in Australia. Now I know what they meant.